Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Azizah Putri Riyani, and in this video I would like to present my proposal research with the title Using Graphic Organizer in Reading Text, Its Effect on Students' Critical Thinking Skills at SMAIT Fityah Pekanbaru. And the background of the problem is according to Gessinger 2016 and Sarudin et al. 2019, critical thinking is one of the key aspects of the skills that required in the 21st century. Because critical thinking involves brain's function to fix various tasks from simple to complex, according to Ennis 2011. And according to Scaverman, 1999, teachers must plan lessons that can facilitate the development of students' critical thinking skills. So, one method that can be used to improve student critical thinking skills is to use graphic organizer, according to Kurniawan et al. 2019. And the research gap in this research is there is lack of research that explore or investigate critical thinking skills related to the use of graphic organizer. Most of research just focus on using graphic organizer to improve reading comprehension. Next research problem. Limitation of the problem in this research focus on the use of graphic organizer in the critical thinking skills of students at SMAIT Fityah Pekanbaru. And there are two formulations in this research. The first is there any significant difference of students' critical thinking skills between students who are taught by using graphic organizer and without using graphic organizer? And the second formulation is there any significant effect of using graphic organizer on students' critical thinking skills? Next, the purpose in this research. This is based on the formulation of the problem. The first is to examine whether there is a significant difference on the students' critical thinking skills taught by using and without using graphic organizer. And the second purpose is to find out the effect of using graphic organizer on students' critical thinking skills. And the significance of the research to strengthen the theoretical understanding, the use of graphic organizer in improving critical thinking skills, and provide practical guidance for teachers, students, and policy makers in education to implement graphic organizer in teaching and learning. And next, definition of term. In this research, there are two terms. The first is critical thinking. The critical thinking is the ability to analyze arguments, identify bias, construct convincing arguments, and make thoughtful decisions, according to Gregory Bassam et al. 2002. And the second term is graphic organizer. The definition is graphic organizer as a visual design that uses symbols and arrows to assist the learning process, according to Dutch and Ewes 1986. Next, review the theories. The first is concept critical thinking. According to Tilak 2011 and Raj Tilak et al. 2022, critical thinking plays an important role in education, and there are several indicators of critical thinking. According to Physio 1 2010, critical thinking is a series of cognitive process involving analysis, evaluation, explanation, and self-regulation. And next, concept of graphic organizer. First is definition. According to Kurniawan and Carlina 2018, graphic organizer is a visual communication media that uses symbols to convey ideas and concepts visually. And there are so many types of graphic organizer based on the Kurniaman's book 2019. Graphic organizers are tailored to the learning categories applied to the students. The first is main chart and others. And next, procedures and the benefit of graphic organizer. According to Wales 2012, there are three main procedures and benefit for teachers use graphic organizer in learning. The first is introduction to learning, core activities, and closing activity. And next, using graphic organizer in critical thinking, there are two theories that underline the use of graphic organizer in critical thinking. The first is schema theory and the second is cognitive load theory. And next, review of relevant previous studies. Previous research by Guosimen et al. 2023 and Dwi Anggunla study 2018 shows that the use of graphic organizer effectively improves students' critical thinking skills. And the others research by Otang Kuryaman et al. 2021, 2020, 2019 highlighted the lack of critical thinking skills among elementary school students, but the use of graphic organizer was shown to improve the ability is critical thinking. And in this research, the researcher will use the procedure of graphic organizer by Wales 2012. The first procedure is learning introduction. The second procedure is core activities, and the last procedure is closing activities. And in this research, the researcher used indicators of critical thinking by Visio 1 2010. The first is analyze, evaluate, explain, and the last is self-regulation. And the hypothesis in this research had null hypothesis. There is no significant effect of using graphic organizer on the student's critical thinking skill. And the alternative hypothesis, there is significant effect of using graphic organizer on students' critical thinking skills. And next research method, this research used experimental design as stated by Creswell 2008, experimental design that aims to test the impact of a method on outcomes. And the type this research is causal experiment that used to measure the effectiveness of learning methods in improving student skills according to ISNAWAN 2020. And there are two classes in this research. The first class is experimental class and the second is control class. So, but the experimental class that received treatment. And this research will be conducted at SMAIT Fityah Pekanbaru at Jalan Swakarya, and this research will begin in the 2024/2025 academic year. And the population and sample of the research, the researcher chose the 11th class. This is recommendation from the teacher, and a sample in this class is the sample in this research is 11 IPS class and 11 IPA class. And the researcher chose the experimental and control class by using lottery, and then 11 IPS class as experimental class, and 11 IPA class as control class. And next, research variable. In this research, there are two variables. The first is critical thinking, and the second is graphic organizer. And the description of critical thinking is the ability to recognize, assess, and analyze arguments. Critical thinking also includes systematically analyzing ideas to understand the problem and its impact, according to Gregory Basam et al. 2002, Rainbow in the year 2012, Inchi et al. 2006. And the second variable is graphic organizer. The description is graphic organizer are visual tools used to describe and organize data, helping to understand the relationship between concept, ideas, or information, according to Mayan et al. 1996, Coburn 2003, Dutch and Evans 1986. Next, operational concept of the variables. The indicators of variables that, according to Fityah 1, 2010, critical thinking is a series of cognitive process involving analysis, evaluation, explanation, and self-regulation. And the second procedures of variable is graphic organizer. According to Wells 2012, there are three main procedures for teachers that use graphic organizer in learning. First, in introduction to learning. The second is core activities, and the last, closing activity. Next, techniques and instrument of data collection. The technique of data collection, the first is pre-test. This pre-test measures certain the characteristics that are evaluated in participant before the treatment is given. And the next, post-test. The post-test serves as an indicator of characteristics evaluated in experimental participants after they receive treatment. This is according to Creswell 20 and 12. Next, instrument of data collection. The researcher chose the instrument based on critical thinking indicators by Fityah 1, 20 and 10. The first indicator is analysis, evaluation, explanation, and the last, self-regulation. And to validity and reliability of the instrument, this research used content validity using the SPSS application to measure the credibility of critical thinking skills. And the reliability of this instrument is adapted from critical thinking statement of expert consensus for the assessment and teaching of educational objective by Peter Fityah 1, 2016. And the last data analysis techniques. According to Videonos 2011, the level of students' critical thinking skills is categorized into 5 levels. The first is very high, enough, low, and very low. And this research using independent t-test with the help of SPSS application to identify significant difference between pre and post-test condition. And the step is normality test, independent sample t-test, effect size, and the statistical hypothesis. That's all from me. Thank you for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.